Hey everybody, say hi to Jeffrey. Welcome to week 2. And last week I said we're going to be talking about characters. And some of you might have thought, well, that means we're going to need some of these sheets, right? Wrong. Some of you even thought that we're going to need one of these books. Wrong number 2. The reason for that is simple. Those are game-specific materials that I said we're not going to need. Because characters are universal. We do not need a single system to make characters. We only need to ask what character we're making. And really to do that, you just got to ask yourself some questions. First is, what kind of character do I want to play? Once you know the answer to that, you can move on to, how do I make this character work in this system? So the first thing you should really do is try to focus on how to answer that first question. What character do I want to play? What makes this character unique? What can I do to make this fun? Because like I said last week, characters are the lifeblood of every RPG system. So you just gotta know what system you're playing and how you're gonna use it. But I'm not gonna talk about what character you want to play today. Instead, I'm gonna talk about what makes a good character. And well, many people have been talking about this for a while. People who write books, movies, TV shows, not just people who play games. But these skills can make your gameplay better. The best way to deal with this is to simply ask a few questions. After you figure out what kind of character you want to play, you've got to figure out what makes that character unique. What fleshes that character out? What does that character want to do? Those are not simple questions to answer, but these are the good questions to ask and try to find an answer for. Because it is the line between doing the bare minimum, showing up to a game with just a character that wants to kick in doors and gather loot, versus a character that's embedded in the politics of the nation, wants to find his long-lost homeland and further whatever cause he's doing. Or she. These characters can be both. But if you ask me, a good character can be broken down to 4 main points. You have traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. Some of you paying attention might have realized I stole those straight from the player's handbook. But they knew that that would be a good system to use. So let's break it down. So personality traits are simple sentences you can say that define something that makes your character unique. Something like, anything worth doing is worth doing right is a good character trait. It sets the bar for what we know about that character. Plain and simple, that character is a perfectionist. An ideal is something your character believes in intrinsically. To go further with the one sentence example, I always try to help those in need, no matter what the personal cost. That sounds like Superman to me. And it's not wrong. A bond is a little trickier. It represents a character's connection to the world. You know, it's a little, you can get lost in the weeds of this, but again, simple is better because you can remember simple. A particularly nobly inclined character might say something like, everything I do is for the common people. And that ties that character to, once again, the common people. Tying that character to the world. And lastly, there's flaws, which some people might think about too hard, but really they're just something that can be used against your character. You know, in gameplay, your dungeon master might use your flaw to try to railroad you down a simple path. And like anything, they're going to vary wildly based on what the character is all about. A flaw that says, I can't resist a pretty face, is going to tell you something different than a flaw that says, I judge others harshly, and myself even more severely. Really, you just gotta flesh out the character and figure out what they want. And that's the secret to making a good character. You just have to put more effort in. You just have to kind of believe the character exists. You know, kind of buy into the fantasy a little bit. If you do that, you're going to make better characters. And when you start doing that, you're going to play every RPG better. I mean every RPG. This is the thing that steps it above. Just putting numbers on a page and writing out a simple backstory and then never touching anything in that again is what people have been doing for the better part of 40 years. To really tell a good story, though, you need something a little more. Now, of course, there is a little more to be said, because every role-playing game is not a single-player experience. You're going to be at a table with about 3 to 6 of your closest friends or people you just met online, and you're all going to be telling the story together. So making sure your character works well with others is a good place to start. Collaborating with the other players to make sure that all of your characters are well connected with each other. Suddenly you've got a group of adventurers that have known each other since childhood and can tackle anything. And they already have that trust built into each other, as opposed to just some guys who met at a bar. So many guys who just met at a bar. And that's week 2. 50 more videos to follow, and I think next week is a topic I didn't want to do just yet, but I'm realizing it's more important to come sooner as opposed to later. So next week I'm going to talk about the guy running the show. Your game master, dungeon master, whatever they call the guy who puts it all together for you. I'm going to talk about running the game next week. So until then, I'll see you.